Hey Horns, just a heads up on our review for She-Hulk this week. I might break the fourth wall at some point.
Oh, well, I'm sure you have a way to make it work comedically, and I would imagine that if you do it repeatedly, you'd never throw it in the face of the audience or talk down to them.
Can you listeners believe how clueless Horns is? Let's see where this review goes.
Well, damn it. Welcome in to the Bro 4 Squad podcast, where we are just a bunch of bros drinking beer and watching TV and movies. This is our review of She-Hulk Attorney at Law, Episode 9, titled Whose Show Is This? The finale of, I guess we'll say Season 1 for now, but we'll get into it. I'm your host, the Mayor Jeff Hornacek, joined by the American hero Nate Thurman to review this episode, as we do all of our television episodes using the 4 Bro 4 Squad criteria, which are the acting, the story, our favorite scene, and then theories and questions going forward, which since this was the end of the season, we typically do like final thoughts or fallout from this show, where the MCU could go from here. So, all right, Nate, this has been, I would say, a roller coaster series, but I don't think we've had many highs, at least from our standpoint. So it's been like valleys.
Yeah,
Now the show's over. Acting and cast, you can go from just this episode or just sort of the whole view of the season if you want.
yeah. This would be the most unentertaining roller coaster ever because it would just start and just keep going down, and then you just get off the ride at the end of it. So it wouldn't have really any up or down motion at all. Um, but I think for this episode, uh, my thoughts on acting and cast kind of encompass what I've thought like the whole time. Like Tatiana Maslany, I really like her acting in this. I really like her character as Jen Walters. I like what she's doing. I just don't like what what the show is putting her in and like the plot or lack thereof of everything that's going on. But her in and of herself, I've loved what she's done with it. There's obviously I don't know. I don't know what this last episode is, but there was a tease of like she's not getting a movie. I don't know. I would love to see her in something else that's more close to what would resemble something in the MCU. Because like I said, I liked her performance, but that's about all all I can take from this.
Yeah, and we'll get into this in a second. Like, I don't even know if she's in the MCU or if this show like
Where are we?
right. Did this show actually happen in the MCU? And I'm not even talking like from a multiverse standpoint. I mean, was this like a work of fiction within the Marvel Cinematic Universe that like someone else wrote, which we'll get into. But I agree. The people out there that are saying anyone who doesn't like this show is sexist and you're against a female lead character. I mean, I'll just nip that in the bud right here because the only thing that really worked for me consistently with this series was Tatiana Maslany as Jen
Yeah.
Walters. The problem with this show is it basically lampoons and makes fun of the fact that she could potentially carry her own show.
Hmm.
Like that is a running joke for it. Like, huh, you think a female could lead a show? And it's weird because like it's in on the joke, but also it's doing itself a disservice at the same time. So I don't really understand like what they were asking her to do with this character, but she was entertaining to me week to week. That's like honestly the one of few things that kept me coming back.
Yeah.
And then last thing I'll say from the finale, I did really like how they started to use Josh Segura as Pug and Ginger Gonzaga as Nikki as the series went on. Ultimately, like their characters didn't mean anything, as this whole show didn't mean anything. But this one was
Yeah.
kind of fun with like her being his like inner monologue or like his conscience while he tried to infiltrate the intelligentsia event. That was kind of
Yeah.
a cool dynamic that again they just pissed all over, but it was fun for a little while.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a nice kind of bright moment in a pile of shit.
Hmm. All right, the story and plot, according to IMDb, which again is
Oh,
not at all.
they actually have something to
They
say.
tried to
They
put
actually came
something
up with one.
together. Yeah. It says Jen finds herself in trouble with the law and struggles to pick up the pieces of her life. Now, that is clearly not what actually happens in the show. And we can talk about it now or at the very end in theories and questions. But essentially, obviously, halfway through the show, there's we'll call it a swing for the fence. where breaking the fourth wall and taking meta to a whole nother level would be, I think, putting it mildly, because Jen literally pauses the series, crawls out of the Disney Plus menu, walks into the writer's room of this show. They comedically try to literally erase everything happening in the finale, skip any big action set piece. She talks to some robotic, amalgamation of Kevin Feige, and then the show ends with a barbecue scene with Daredevil, and then a beyond shoehorned return of Bruce Banner and his son Scar. So, thoughts on the story?
Yeah, I was texting you and Banner while I was watching it, and literally paused, and I had to like convince myself to finish the episode around the time that all the shit started going crazy and sideways. But yeah, I just didn't. They were basically, in my viewpoint, they were saying this is a shitty show and we know it, and we're just gonna say that. I'm like, okay, why? I don't. You're like making fun of themselves, but not in a funny haha way. It was kind of cringeworthy what they were doing. And like, yeah, halfway through, I literally had no idea where I was. Am I in MCU? There was a part where in the writer's room, they were talking as she's coming in, and he says, oh, maybe if we do season 2 as like a elongated dream sequence. I was like, is that what this whole thing was? Is this a dream? Yeah. So I may be grasping at straws at that, but like that could be a possibility. Like this whole thing could have been a dream. I don't know, because it was so off the wall. I think that's like in the realm of possibilities at this point. But I'm just, this just made no sense in like the series of the MCU or anything that's ever been churned out by the MCU to this point.
Yeah, Banner said it best in the text. He's like, I'm still kind of at a loss for words with what this was. The entire series, we knew it was probably going to be low stakes, but I didn't think it was going to subvert expectations so much to where there were no stakes and nothing ever actually happened. Like, I'll get into it at the end, like what was actually the point of the show, what were they trying to do. But for everyone out there making the comparison, like, oh, well, you like breaking the fourth wall when Deadpool does it. Well, when Deadpool does it, it's number one, done briefly as a comedic trope, and it works. Number two, it doesn't completely erase and eradicate 8.5 hours of the show that I've been watching already.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this breaking the fourth wall was basically like, it kind of reminded me of The Last Jedi in the sense that it laughs in the face of people that ever thought there was a point to watching this.
Yeah, pretty much. I definitely agree with that. Because we're trying to invest time in this. We're trying to figure, okay, what's the point of this? And then it literally says, oh, these 9 episodes you watch, there's literally no point. I mean, there's an underlining agenda that they're trying to get out and try and force, but it was not done well at all.
And again, dude, we very rarely dislike things like as much as we've disliked this show, and I take no pleasure in it. Like every single week, I was like hoping things would somehow turn around here.
Yeah.
But to me, this is just like some really, really weird experiment that Marvel went with. And we can talk on another episode about the state of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But at this point, it's not even like they're trying new things at this point. It's almost like they're trying to see what they can get away with and still have people be interested.
Yeah, it's like that 2-year-old when you tell them don't do something or don't touch something, they put their hand like an inch away from it.
Right.
Like, how close can I get
just to see what you'll do?
Yeah, to see what you'll do. And I don't know. This was a huge swing for the fences, and they struck out hard on this one, in my opinion.
Yeah, because the point was basically Marvel saying like, well, what if we did a show that not only was not about anything, but at the very end we kind of like laughed in your face for ever tuning in week to week, like and who is going to be happy with this? Yeah. Again, some people liked it, but clearly not for us.
Yeah, it just like not much happened. I mean, sure, if it sets up something down the road, I guess, but they even kind of made jokes about that whenever she was talking to Kevin. It didn't seem like there was going to be too much more with She-Hulk coming down the road. And then
the joke that she would never get her own movie, basically.
Yeah.
Be in a movie.
And then like you said earlier, the shoehorned Hulk and Ska at the end there, which
what is that, dude?
I don't or Scar.
Like that's how we want to do this, you know?
Yeah, and like they even, I think when she was talking to Kevin again, they like mentioned that, be like, oh, we don't need to know what Hulk was doing the whole time. We're like, well, we kind of do, and then it's literally 2 seconds. Here's my son, and he just shows up at the barbecue randomly, which is kind of what was happening at the big battle at the end, which they said, oh, we shouldn't do this because it doesn't make sense. All these plot lines were like, okay, so he just randomly shows up somewhere else and it's okay. You just like contradicted yourself there.
But
Huge.
it's like, again, that's the weird thing about the show is that it knows it's making mistakes, but it thinks it's funny, you know? It
Yeah, and
thinks
that's
it's hilarious that it's bad, I think.
that was the weirdest thing, like through the finale. It was like admitting it's bad and just like going like doing nothing about it. Just like, hey, this is a shitty show that we're making. Here it is. Enjoy it, I guess, or not.
Right. The show thinks the joke is that it's not good. And I'm like, no, because that just means you're not good. Like everything that suck doesn't mean that it's funny.
No. But I don't know where they're trying to go with this one, and the whole intelligentsia thing was like people like groups, like secret groups that just hate women like that. I'm like, that's like so far fetched. I'm like, I don't know, maybe there are groups out there. I'm obviously not part of them, but
well, and then if you think about it, the whole plot of the show, and again, I understand the joke is that there was no plot. Haha, that's really hilarious.
Yeah.
Was that they stole Jen's blood, and then obviously Scott injects it in himself and becomes Hulk, and then they're like, you know what, that's stupid, let's erase that. I'm like, I understand it's not a good narrative choice to do that, but you also set that up for 5 episodes.
Yes,
like it's
and
not
also,
like a decision you just made in the finale.
which I mean, I don't even know I would go back and say, oh, this was never explained or anything, because it literally doesn't matter. But they never explained like how he got her blood. Like, and we talked about this on.
They did sex, Nate.
Yeah, exactly. And the blood is.
When you have
common.
sex, you don't collect a blood sample from someone.
I haven't done it in years, so I'm not too up on it. But yeah, that thing just, oh, he had sex with you and got your blood. Like, she didn't notice like him drawing blood out of her, or what?
And then why did he copy her phone?
Was
that to get the sex tape? But it seemed like he set up his phone to film it.
Yeah, he set up that. So I'm trying to think like, yeah, was there anything like in like the propaganda video or like whatever the gotcha video that was on her phone? It was the video, but that was from his phone, I would assume.
Right. She wasn't like filming them for her OnlyFans. Whatever. As Peter Griffin would say, I digest.
Done.
All right, on to best scene, Nate. Your favorite scene of the episode?
I told you before, Pod, I'm literally going off no notes, which I never do, but just free balling it on this one. But the one that did stand out to me was when Pug was trying to infiltrate into the, and I'm pretty sure it's probably yours as well, but infiltrate into the intelligentsia, and he's got
the earpiece and the circle.
Yeah, Nikki in his ear the whole time, and
he
has like no confidence. He's just trying to like push him into it. It was a funny dynamic.
He's trying to say things he really doesn't believe. He's like, yeah, man, women, right?
And she's like, yeah, sound offended. He's having to like put on this show for them to dig in a little deeper. But yeah, that one was a fun interaction. Like you said, that was kind of like a bright spot, like their dynamic duo that they started doing. They like their little side jobs throughout the episodes, like the B plot. Well, if you can call it a B plot, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that part.
Yeah, Pug and Nikki really became fun ancillary characters. Like the episode with I can't remember the name of the character, but the guy who could die and come back to life repeatedly, where Nikki was dealing with all of his ex-wives or people he was married to, and like making sure that they were made whole or happy with their settlements. That was a great episode for her. And then Pug, obviously, with the his drip guy, and then closing out the finale with them was fun.
Yeah.
I've had as my best scene, and it's more like 90% of the scene until it kind of closed out the episode, but I actually kind of enjoyed Matt Murdock at the barbecue with Jen's family.
Yeah.
And part of that was, for me, this felt like a very, very rare moment in this show, and I think Daredevil was part of probably some of the few moments of this, but where characters felt like they were acting like real people.
That's a really good point.
Like that kind of feels like what a barbecue would actually be like if like you were introducing someone to your family who can make, you uncomfortable for the first time. The comedic notes felt genuine, and it almost felt out of place because I was like, wait, so now this is like actual dialogue.
Yeah. Yeah, because throughout the season so far, like whether it was her breaking the fourth wall or just them doing some offbeat joke or something. Yeah, it didn't feel natural or anything. So I don't even know if I noticed it while I was watching the episode, but now thinking back on it, like that's a very good point. Like it felt natural, it felt good, it felt like a real scene and people actually acting. And like a dad being a dad and saying, "Nope, this is how it's going to be going forward, and you're going to have to deal with this and these questions and all that stuff." Because like before, he was like kind of over the top, like not goofy, but I don't know, just the way he would act and like interact with Jen Walters was kind of over the top, but that was like a normal dad reaction, dad conversation. So it was kind of a feel good scene there.
And it kind of reminded me of, I'm a big Fast and Furious fan. I got like a little bit of vibes from how they always have like barbecues at the end of the movies where everyone comes together.
Yep.
And then it got weird at the end when Scar showed up and they were like, now they're trying to be the MCU again, which I didn't.
Here's my son. All right, that's it. Bye.
Oh, cool. Also brought a 6-pack of Coronas or whatever, like Michelob's or something.
I'm trying to watch my figure.
Body's a temple. All right. Theories and questions or anything going forward. I have a few questions here. And again, we talked about some of this stuff earlier, but I mean this honestly, because maybe I just didn't get it. But what do you think Marvel's point or really like the intent of this show was? Like when they were pitched the idea of this, what do you think they were hoping to get out of it? Because we know, number one, it's not to advance the MCU. I didn't really think it was to establish Jen Walters as a character because it sort of seemed like that was all done tongue in cheek. Was it just sort of like a social experiment to see like how far can we push the envelope?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I don't want to like boil it down to something like they just start trying to take a stand or like social experiment or something like that. Yeah, they were like really, really pushing on like, oh, women can't be like the superhero, women can't be like this and this, and like I mean, I get it, and like I understand like there's maybe a gap in that, but that was like all this was. It was just a platform for that, and I don't know. I'm not in that mindset or anything, so I guess it's tough for me to wrap my head around it. But I don't know. Yeah. That's kind of what I felt like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to do a little bit of internet research just to figure it out because I don't get it. It seemed like they took an opportunity to take a female-led show and they used it to complain about how there's not many female-led shows. Like, well, you have one now. Do something with it, and you didn't.
Yeah.
My other question, is this MCU canon? Now, I know that like the stuff with Hulk and his son Scar at the end, they'll probably want to tie back in, but it seemed like everything Jen did in the writer's room scene where they like literally erased events that happened. Like, is this like a fictitious story that is told in the MCU world?
Yeah, I think that's all up in the air right now. So I don't know. Do we know if this is getting a second season or anything?
I have not heard anything, but I can honestly say, and I don't take any pride in saying this, if this does get a second season, it will probably be the first MCU thing that I just proactively say, like, I'm not going to watch that.
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, I'm kind of in the same boat, and we probably won't be doing episode reviews on this, if any reviews at all. Maybe like a end of the season review, possibly if it does come out. But yeah, I'm going to be interested to see where they like fit this in because the last episode we were not in any universe we've ever been in with active characters working with writers and people creating the show. It was just like so mind blowing. But then they give you the one carrot at the end that shows, I mean, it obviously has to be like canon if they're going to tie Hulk and his son into something else in the future. So I have no idea.
I did think for a second Kevin Feige might actually show up, which would have been cool. But I think he's very much of the mindset of like, this is not about me. I don't ever want to be on screen.
Yeah.
Stan Lee's thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it was kind of on the nose with the Kevin as the mastermind robot behind everything.
My other question we kind of already answered. I was just going to say, like, why was there no villain story or character development? But I think it was, it thought that it would be a really funny meta joke to make a show that then at the end you say, like, didn't exist and had no point.
There's one, there's one saving grace to that. And it was one of the complaints that we kind of had. And I don't think I've talked to Banner about this, but I think he mentioned it briefly in a text. But like what they're doing, some of these characters, like Daredevil and Emil Blonsky and Abomination. So I mean, I guess it would be a chance to kind of rewrite some of that and say, oh no, this was just a one-off, and this isn't canon, and these characters actually like they should be in any future installments. So that I guess that would be one saving grace if they could do that. So we'll see.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like it's like cheating a little bit, but they're like, well, we can do this, and if you don't like it, we'll just be like, well, duh. I mean, that wasn't real.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like the guy that says something offensive, and then he decides whether he was joking or not based on people's
I
reactions.
was kidding. Were
Oh my
you though?
gosh. Really? Like, no, you said that once you realized that it was not a cool thing to say.
Yeah, once you realize the whole room hated you afterwards.
Right.
Yeah.
Last thing I had, sort of a theory. This is far-fetched, but again, they threw it in at the end, and you have to think they'll do something with it. But Wong comes back and releases Blonsky. I don't really remember do you remember the dialogue they had there briefly, like what Wong said?
Yeah, it was another weird, like, broken fourth wall thing again. Blonsky says something like, "Oh, you got called in to do another movie or something." And he said, "Yeah." I can't remember the exact dialogue, but it was basically hinting towards, oh, there's going to be another movie that he's going to be pulled into.
Okay. Did he free Blonsky from his cell again?
I don't think the scene went that far. I think it cut off. It was pretty short.
Okay, because I still have a theory that Blonsky will show up in the Thunderbolts.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I think Harrison Ford as Thaddeus Ross will come recruit him, and we'll get him.
That was something that was announced at what, D12 or what?
The movie The Thunderbolts?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they released the roster then, and Abomination wasn't included, but you have to think they'll want like some surprises at the front.
Gotcha. Yeah. I can still see that happening then. Yeah.
Or maybe that's just me hoping, because I think Emil Blonsky is one of the most interesting villains we've had in the MCU, and he was great in his film, but this, I mean, to say did him dirty would be a vast understatement, I think.
Yeah, and then that was pretty early on that we saw him as a changed person. We were like, maybe he's putting on a front, but it through the finale, it did not seem like he was put on a front. It seemed like that was just how they were writing that character now, which is disappointing.
I know, which sucks, is when he showed up like back as Abomination, I was like, oh, thank God. He was like lying the whole time, and he's still an asshole. But even then, he was like, no, sorry, I'm a good guy. I was like, damn it.
Kind of. He's still hosting the Intelligentsia like conference there in his
That's
barn.
true.
So,
and he's the guest speaker at it.
Yeah, he's the guest speaker. So yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's all I have for She-Hulk. Any final thoughts? I mean, we kind of this final review, just because of what it did, we really didn't talk much about this specific episode, but more so about like the picture of the show on the whole. But
yeah,
it was wild. I guess that's one way to put it.
Yeah. Kind of like Banner said, I'm still kind of at a loss for words. I'm just talking in circles, I feel like, over and over again. But yeah, I don't really have much else to say about this one.
I think, and again, man, I like Jen Walters. I like Tatiana Maslany a lot. I wish we'd get more She-Hulk with an earnest attempt at it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this, and I told you guys this in text, and I still feel the same way 3 days later. I think this is the worst thing the MCU has ever done, or at least my least favorite. This beats Iron Man 3 for me, which was my least favorite movie, as you know. And I think there's actually a pretty sizable gap between these two for me.
Yeah, it just it didn't do anything to me, and I don't even know why they would try and do this. Something with really no purpose. It did nothing.
You didn't think it was funny?
Oh, it was hilarious, breaking the fourth wall all the time. I laughed so much. Trust me.
When she crawled out of the Disney Plus, I mean, that's like, I'm having PTSD just reliving it.
I was like, what the fuck is going on?
All right, well, if you're someone at home who liked this show, I'm happy for you. Like, I don't want anyone to hate anything. So comment below what you liked about it, and maybe we can some common ground there, but unfortunately just not for us. So
yeah.
For the American hero, Nate Thurmond, I'm the mayor, Jeff Hornacek, and we are the Bro Force Squad podcast. Thank you guys for checking us out. Follow us on Twitter at Bro Force Squad. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, pretty much anywhere you find podcasts if you type in Bro Force Squad as 3 separate words, and check out all of our content on our website, broforcesquad.com. Till next time, we have to break through the YouTube menu screen and do something funny.
Yeah, I'm going to bust out of this and climb into Spotify or something.
Oh, that'd be cool.